Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us for Young Adult Matters on our Christmas edition episode. My name's Amy, and like always, we have Joe. And again, we have our very special and not old, but came back guest. We have Lisa and Ruby as well joining us again. So, like you said, like I said, mentioned earlier, it's our Christmas edition. So, just before we get into the good part of our normal conversation is, what's Christmas to you? And that goes to everybody.
I think Christmas to me has meant through the years as I've grown up and in my family that it's a time of coming together to celebrate Christ's birth. And there's a lot of other traditions and things that we've done around that, but that's the basis of it. It's around celebrating Christ's birth and Christ in our lives.
Well, for me, it's presents, nothing but presents. I'm just kidding. No, it's not. I don't even get any anymore. You pass a certain age. I'm just kidding. Well, anyway, no, it's exactly what I think you were talking about. I mean, getting together with your family. In our Mexican culture, we're very family oriented. I mean, even when we graduate high school and somebody wants to leave, like a lot of people, it's like, no, I want to stay with my family. That's the thing that they miss most. And during Christmas, it's the time when we can really get together, whether you're a small unit family or super duper huge. I know in my family, on my dad's side, he's one of 10, so it's like it's a huge gathering of all your family from Mexico and from different places that are here in the U.S. Like I have family that's in Houston and Oklahoma and stuff like that, but we all get together, we gather, and but one thing that I really want to stress, one thing I talk about a lot is like my little brother, and I just really want him to know that. Well, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but just real quick, like it's not about presents. It really isn't. It's about the coming of Christ. It's about the birth of Jesus, and that's what we're really celebrating. So,
I think obviously, the coming of Christ is the reason for the season. All those wonderful cliches. But I think Christmas also means it's a chance for the Christmas spirit, that magic that's in the air. It's time for people that the Scrooge. We know many Scrooges, but Christmas gives us an opportunity to love and to be nice to people and to do things that normally we wouldn't. And I think that's a cultural thing that has developed over the years based on the fact that Christ came. And, taking the doctrine and deeper, Christ came to love and to share and joy. And I think those components are present when we think of the Christmas spirit or the magic of Christmas, the Christmas Day parade, and all of those things stem from the coming of Christ. And then digging deeper in what that means, the love, the joy, and sharing with others that Christ is here and really being jubilant and celebrating.
Well, I like that you said, to love, but I think it's also, especially those of us that are servant leaders and we're out there loving others through what we do, through our livelihood, and because of something that we're interested in, that it also gives us that opportunity not only to love, but to be loved. And we need to take that time and accept that as well. So I think that's a good time of year to stand back and just realize how many people love us as well.
I know, it was kind of like, I guess for me, surprising, like the answers you gave to what are the things that you do celebrate Christmas, what Christmas means to you. I know, for me personally, before I think to some point it plays a role, but for me personally would be just whose house are we going to eat at, and whose house are we going to get together at. It's not about the presents, because at least in my family, there's no Christ in it. It's just like we're going to get together and celebrate Christmas, because for me it's an excuse to go home, and so now that we're getting more into deeper understanding of what Christmas is actually about, it's very, very different. So talking about Christmas and the things that we do with our family, and talking about to love and some things that we should do, what are some things that you do within your families to celebrate love, to show love to each other? I know ours is just at midnight, we're together as a family, nobody's on their phone, and we just hug each other and just appreciate each other and give everybody a kiss, like, I love you, like, I'm here for you, like, Merry Christmas. You know, whether that Christ is not there as they see it, it's there somehow through that love. So what are some ways that you celebrate, some tradition that you have, either silly or not, that you have with your family?
But we do that too, you know, on Christmas. We get together Christmas Eve, and of course we eat,
Yes.
and we share with jokes, and my dad walks in with his random cheesy jokes, but you know that's all of that is a part of it, and celebrating, and then at midnight again, the hugs and then the kisses and Merry Christmas. And I remember when my grandmother was still alive, it was always when we would do the gift exchange, and when we would get a gift from my grandma, I would always run to give her a hug, and then all the other cousins would stop, like try and keep, let's say if I was going to go give her, to keep me from giving her a hug, and we would just fight, like, no, like she, you know, because she was the patriarch of our family, and so it was always like, no, she's only going to hug me, or she's only going to kiss me. So, but again, the love and that just comes together. My cousins from Houston come, from San Antonio, and we get to again just share in that love. And like you said, with even when you say, oh well, Christ isn't present here, Christ isn't there, through the actions and what it is, you know, we know God is love. So if there's love, there's God, no matter what. And no matter how many people try and take Christ out of Christmas, He's there. If there's love, if there's joy, it's there, because it all comes from love, and God is love, and so logically speaking, it comes out to be, you know, God and Christ is present.
It's so weird this year, because it used to be there's 7 children in my family, and we've all pretty much lived, you know, not in the same town, but within an hour and a half of each other. So we've always been able to get together for Christmas, and 9 times out of 10 it would be at my home. And this year my husband and I are here, so far away from Indiana and Ohio, where the rest of them are. So I'm not sure what we'll do this year. My youngest daughter will be able to join us, so we'll be starting some new traditions. But I will. We need to find a way to connect with what's happening when they do all get together. And one of the things that I liked about it is we were trying to figure out whose house are we getting together, or what time, or what day, because it didn't always work out on Christmas. You know, with their different jobs, we have nurses and a firefighter, and you know, things like that. So sometimes they had to work over that period of time. So everyone would always say, just get together. You know, don't schedule it around me, just get together. And I loved that about my family, because they even thought, even if they couldn't get there, that they knew the family was together. And I'm kind of in that position, you know, this year, that I know they're still together. So as long as the family's together, I know that those special things, that love, you know, is still happening and is still flourishing.
Well, with me and my family, when my grandfather was still alive, we would, of course, we'd all gather, you know, like I mentioned before, we're a huge family. All my family from Mexico would come up, and everywhere else, and when everyone was there, he was the life of the party, because like your grandmother was a matriarch, my grandfather was the patriarch, and he would dance. We would all dance. He would just grab anybody who was sitting down who looked like they were having a bad time. He just pulled them up, regardless if he could walk or not. You know, so he would just be with everybody. And I think that's the thing I miss the most, is just gathering with, and it doesn't matter if they dance well or not, but if we would all get in a circle, you know, it felt like a wedding or a quinceañera, you know, when everyone just dances and they're just together and they're just with each other, and it's just so much. There's so much love, and there's so much, you know, and I guess it kind of it's more than usual, you know, because not only are we seeing each other, but like, and since it's Christmas time, it's like we're trying to, you know, let our relative from distant ex, or you know, like it's like, you know what, I love you, like let's share this song and let's dance together, or you know what, tell me how everything was going. It's just that in general. I think that's one of the things that we would do a lot.
One of the traditions that with my immediate family that we would do is, I always remember that we would, Christmas Day, we would wake up, of course, open the gifts from Santa and stuff, but then we would go to Mass. And we would go to Mass at the Basilica. We would, you know, the rest of the year we would go to our parish. Shout out to Our Lady St. John of the Fields Mission. Anyways, we would always go to our parish. But for Christmas Day, I don't know, I guess the schedule just worked out. We would go to Mass at the Basilica, and that's what I remember. I would always look forward to, oh, we're going to Mass at the big church, or we're going to the big church today. And that was another tradition that my mom and my dad have instilled in my sister and myself, that Christmas Day, we go to Mass together. And, you know, now that my sister's married and, you know, I'm off from school or work, and it's always Christmas Day, come home, you're going to Mass. That's whatever.
So, okay, instilling in that, like, you know, we have our own personal traditions at home, but we also have traditions within the church that we celebrate in preparation for Mass. I mean, I think it's very important, especially during this year of faith. I mean, we're supposed to be getting closer to the Eucharist. We're supposed to be getting closer to Christ, you know, developing our relationship, not only within ourselves, but with others, and sharing, you know, not being greedy of what we have. What are some things that you can share in preparation of this Christmas celebration? You know, people forget, they don't know that they have to go to Mass, that it's a day of obligation. Even though it's during the week, it's still a day of obligation. So what are some ways what are some advice that you can give to others in this preparation of this season? You know, we just started the year of faith, so it's kind of fresh to all of us still.
I like that word of preparation, and I think especially at this time of year, during normal seasons of the year that aren't Christmas, there's certain people that kind of do everything around the parish, and they still have to do those things around the parish, and then to prepare for the Christmas thing, whether it's the hanging of the greens and, you know, whatever the parish's Christmas traditions are, as far as preparing the altar and how it's going to look and getting the nativity scene out and all of those things. I would say, you know, go to your parish and say, when are you doing this? And step up and help them. You know, what can I do to help prepare during this time? And prepare your church home as well as your own home, and help with that, to give those that work all year long a little bit of a break, or at least some help to, you know, to set the scene for the rest of us as they come in and, you know, come into their house of worship and, you know, see the beauty of the season, you know, all laid out when they come in, whatever Christmas Mass that they're going to.
Well, I know when I was a little girl, I would help with the children's Christmas Mass, and, well, the Christmas play or whatever, the nativity thing, and I was in the choir. So I would, not that I have the most beautiful voice, but I mean, I kind of helped out, and I saw what it was really about, you know. And I guess if you have children, they go into CCD, you know, like kind of like with what you're saying about helping out your parish, like get your kids involved, you know, and let them know firsthand what it really is about. Let them see for themselves, you know. Don't let the TV or pop culture fill their heads in with something that it isn't. Let them know in the church what it really is about, what Christmas really is about. And I guess the play is just a way to kind of hook them in, you know, because who knows if it's a big production, they can be in charge of lights, if they can be in charge of technical things, or if they can be acting within it, you know, or even just watching. That engages children a whole lot, and they want to learn. Don't think that the children don't want to learn, because they do. I mean, they're sponges, and I think that's a very key element in preparing their faith. So I think that's one thing that's really important.
Okay, now, and you pretty much said one of the good things, one of the things that I really, really want to talk about, that's, for me, it's most important that we talk about during this Christmas season. Everything's become so commercialized. I know you touched about it earlier in the show, but there's just an amazing, like everything's just, I had mentioned in a previous show, you know, like we went from Halloween, skipped Thanksgiving, and went straight to the Christmas decorations. Mm-hmm. You know, we skipped it completely, and I was like, oh, well, I guess they're not selling turkeys this year. So what's your personal opinion, and what way can we better educate others on what the true meaning of Christmas is, and what is the root of our Catholic faith into all this?
Well, one thing that I really, really want to stress is it's not about, to the kids, it's not about Santa Claus, and it's not about presents. I know when you were saying, like, oh, what is the thing that you think about most in Christmas time? For me, it was presents. It really isn't. But one thing, well, sort of, because one thing that you need to know is that Santa Claus, well, who is he? What's his name? It's Nicholas, Saint Nick. He really is a saint. And in a previous episode, we were talking about saints, and just a little snippet of his of who Saint Nicholas was. He was he had a very his parents helped a lot with the poor and and they helped the sick and everything, and he didn't really understand why his parents would do that. And when he would talk to his father, he learned in time what it was. And actually, it's in the Matthew chapter 6. He says, "But when you give to the needy, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret." And so, when you think of the story of when you think of Santa Claus, it's like, oh, he went down the chimney and everything like that. Well, Nicholas, he would help out the needy, and he would help them so that he wouldn't get persecuted and stuff like that. So it kind of derives from that whole thing, and you just need to remember, although he was real, he is real. He gave to those who needed it. And I guess that's why in time, everybody in the pop culture, it's like, oh, presents. And they just stop thinking, you know what, it really is just to give for those who need it. It's a present because I've learned to love, and because God loves me, so I'm letting you know that how I love God and stuff like that. So kind of misinterpreted that a little. But yeah, don't let the pop culture influence the children, and thinking that it's about, like in Halloween, it's about candy, or like in Christmas time, it's about Santa Claus, because it's not. It's about Jesus Christ. And that's one thing that Nicholas found out in time. I mean, he understood. He had to find himself. Since he didn't understand when he was a child. His parents died when he was a child. Why they would dedicate their life so much to the needy. And in a time where he was kind of finding himself, he realized what it was about, why they did what they did, because God loved them, and so they showed that love to everyone.
And I think, even talking about the gifts, if we see, Christmas can also be a time for us to look at the gifts that we received from God, whether, it be our gift of faith or our personal talents that we have, and to share them with our families. For example, like you mentioned, your grandfather, a gift that he had from God is the joy, and the joy that he shared through dance, and through dancing, or whether it was walking or whatever it was, to share that. So another important thing to remember in Christmas is the greatest gift that we could have asked for as mankind is salvation from God, and that gift came in a small little package, in Jesus. In Jesus coming in Christmas, that's a great gift. That because he came, we were able to receive salvation. And then through God, we have our own gifts to share. We have our gifts to share. So it is about the presents, but let's be young adults about this. It's not about what you buy. It's not about the iPhone, the iPad, but it's about the gifts that God has given us, and the gifts that we share with others, inspiring, empowering, sharing, comforting, grieving. I mean, I'm just going down the list on the Beatitudes. And that's, again, gifts given to us by God. God gave the 10 Commandments, and Jesus came and he gave us the Beatitudes. Feed the hungry, comfort the sorrowing. And I think all of those are encompassed in Christmas, and that's where the Christmas season really comes in, where we can take everything, we can take Christ, and it really is Christmas. And so we look at baby Jesus, we see the different nativity scenes with Jesus in the manger, but picture Jesus, the man in the manger, Jesus Christ, the Messiah in the manger, and what did he give to us, and how it came about in Christmas.
So another question that I really actually, it's something that I really wanna ask. We talk about what actions we can do, but a lot of us, we forget, like you kind of mentioned on it, like spiritually we forget about our soul. We're happy with the exterior, we're helping out, we do different activities, we help decorate the church, whatever it is. We might even sometimes help the homeless, and we forget about the homeless during the season, because a lot of the time it's just me, and me. What am I going to get for Christmas? You know, what are they going to buy me? What am I going to get somebody else from the store? So, what are some of the things that you would do at a spiritual level that you might be able to share with others? I know one of the biggest things for me is the rosary. I'll give you a good example. I can't sit there every day and pray the rosary. You know, and I remember that the Blessed Mother plays such a huge role, because without her saying yes, you know, without her saying yes, we would not have Christ. And she made that bold decision to be like, you know what, at a young age, I'm going to give birth to this child. And for this reason, we have Christmas. So what would be some other traditions or more spiritual exercises that you could share in this preparation? Because we just think about the outside, not really on the inside a lot of the times.
I think one of the things that I've shared with my immediate family, like with my daughters and my husband, is like because we are going to be eating so much when the whole family and stuff gets together, is to do like a Mary's meal. Like, what would Mary have eaten the night after giving birth, you know, to Christ? And it would have been, I'm sure, whatever they would have been carrying. It might have been, you know, an apple or something like the pita bread, or you know, hummus, or, you know, what would she have eaten? And really stop and think, you know, the step by step of, you know, what did she eat, or what those things that we take for granted that we go through and do in the day, what did she have to do, you know, or what did Joseph have to do in those moments of, you know, the night that Christ was born, you know, and to think about those things and maybe apply some of that, you know, to our own lives, the awe and the wonder, and, you know, how do we enliven those things in our own spirit, you know, so that it can be conveyed to others. But we need to fill ourselves with some of those things, humble ourselves, you know, to that moment.
I think also another cultural tradition is the posadas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they to really do a posada for what it is, and not just, oh, it's an excuse to party, but to really, when you walk, if you're walking from one house to another, to really kind of put yourself in that situation, that desperation, trying to find a place. You know, as a man, you know, we're taught, or we're told through TV or through things, you have to provide for your family, you have to be the man. And I try to think of how did Joseph feel, and what was he doing, just traveling, like, my wife's pregnant, like, we need a place, and that feeling, that desperation. And when I've participated in posadas, that's what goes through my mind. You know, it's like, okay, they've denied us lodging here. You know, okay, let's figure something out. You know, sometimes you got to try and pull something together. You know, who knows what he did for that, you know, for that stable. Did he, you know, I'll paint your house, or what did we don't know, but I think the posadas help us to feel that. And in campus ministry, when we have our posadas, we have a man dressed up as Joseph and the girl as Mary. And I try to tell them too, like, think what you would feel like, we got rejected again. And then the hope, or that relief when they finally let them in. And so I think the posadas is a way that we can, a posada done right, a posada in the right spirit. Because lately I've seen posadas that are just an excuse to get drunk and to kind of party, and to just, oh yeah, it's a posada, let's just party on December. But, you know, there's more to that, and if you follow the posadas, I think it's another actionable step that you can take to put yourself in the Christmas spirit and in the Christmas season, to really understand what's going on with that.
Actually, just now that you mentioned, I never thought about it that way. I've always thought, oh, posada, we just go singing door to door, and I just sang to sing. Like, I never actually.
Well, if you look at the words, you know, en el nombre del cielo os pido posada, and even the songs and the nuances is like, you know, my wife is pregnant and she's, let her in, please, and then the response is like, look, you know, this is in a hotel, get out of here and stuff. Just think, you know, a lot of things get misinterpreted, you know, and kind of misconstrued over time. But next time you do a posada, think about it. Listen to the words. You know, it's more than just walking and getting tamales at the end of the journey.
But those are nice sometimes. But again, it's a year of faith, guys, and we really, really want to push you to get, like I said at the beginning, and I'm gonna say it again, get closer to the Eucharist, get closer to Christ. Make it a deal to bring a friend to Mass. Especially during a holy day of obligation besides your Sunday Mass, Christmas. And that's sometimes we want to say with their families, but we also forget, Christ is what makes us and what we believe in now. So check out our website, cm.net, for a lot of ideas of what to do for the year of faith. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And if you have an idea or you want to help us donate, I know I'm donating half of my closet of clothes, so everything's going to be gone pretty soon. Please do so, or just go to your local shelter. Give a meal to those who don't have one. So, if it's going to cost you to give a meal, I'm sure to make for your personal meal, you can give $5 away. So it's all good in the little sacrifices as long as it all has heart.
One of the things I like to do that on a regular basis, but specifically around Christmas, is when I'm walking around campus or the mall or anywhere, is if somebody makes eye contact with me, I make it a point to say hello, throw them a smile. Sometimes, what if they went to go buy a present and the credit card got declined or something? You never know. So we were mentioned earlier about the spiritual and taking care of the spirit. Somebody could be walking with a handful of gifts, but if a smile might just be like, okay, thanks. Like a smile really does go a long way. So that's another suggestion is to, smile, say Merry Christmas, not Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, And if they say, oh, I'm Jewish, we'll say, hi.
Yeah.
And even in sharing the differences that are there.
Turn the chore into a connection.
Definitely.
So, all right, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us on our Christmas episode of Young Adult Matters. And we will see you next year, right? No. Almost next year. I have one more after this. So if you have any ideas for the show or would you like to be on the show, feel free to contact us at info@cm.net. So we'll see you next week, guys. God bless you.